You are correct. The total connected load of the panel board is 17.3 kilowatts. Each heater consumes 2.5 kilowatts and there are 6 heaters. Multiplying 2.5 kilowatts by 6 gives 15 kilowatts. Because this is a 3-phase installation, you need to multiply by the square root of 3, which is approximately 1.732 to determine the total connected load. Multiplying 15 kilowatts by 1.732 yields approximately 17.3 kilowatts. The electrician might have been considering the panel board's rating of 15 kilowatts. However, it's important to distinguish between the total connected load and the panel board rating. The panel board rating signifies the maximum current a panel board can safely handle. This rating is determined by the ampacity of the conductors and the breakers within the panel board. The total connected load, on the other hand, represents the amount of current the heaters will draw when all are operating simultaneously. This is derived from the wattage of the heaters. In this specific scenario, the total connected load exceeds the panel board's rating. However, this does not automatically pose a problem, given that the circuit breakers are designed to trip, interrupting the circuit if the current draw surpasses the panel board's rated capacity. Let's delve further into the concepts to ensure a comprehensive understanding. Firstly, it's crucial to define what we mean by total connected load. In the context of an electrical system, the total connected load refers to the sum of the power consumption of all electrical devices and appliances that are intended to be energized simultaneously. This is usually expressed in kilowatts or volt-amps. In a single-phase circuit, calculating the total connected load is relatively straightforward. You simply add up the power requirements of all the individual loads. However, in a 3-phase system, the calculation becomes a bit more complex due to the phase relationship between the voltages and currents. 3-phase power systems are commonly used in commercial and industrial settings because they offer several advantages over single-phase systems, including higher power capacity, smoother power delivery, and improved motor efficiency. Now, let's address the panel board rating. The panel board rating, also known as the main breaker rating, indicates the maximum amount of current that the panel board is designed to safely distribute. This rating is determined by the size of the main breaker and the ampacity of the busbars and other components within the panel board. It's crucial to ensure that the total connected load does not exceed the panel board rating. If the total connected load is greater than the panel board rating, the main breaker may trip, interrupting power to all the circuits connected to the panel board. In some cases, overloading a panel board can also lead to overheating and potentially cause a fire. Now let's explore why we need to multiply by the square root of 3 in a 3-phase calculation. In a balanced 3-phase system, the 3 phases are 120 electrical degrees apart. This phase difference results in a more efficient power transfer compared to a single-phase system. When calculating the total power in a balanced 3-phase system, we need to take this phase difference into account. The square root of 3 is a mathematical factor that arises from the trigonometric relationships between the 3 phases. The formula for calculating the total power in a balanced 3-phase system is power equals the square root of 3 times the line-to-line voltage times the line current times the power factor. It is important to note that the power factor is a measure of how effectively electrical power is being used. A power factor of 1 indicates that all the power is being used to do useful work, while a power factor less than 1 indicates that some of the power is being wasted due to reactive loads such as motors and transformers. In our example, we are assuming a power factor of 1 for simplicity. However, in real-world applications, it's important to consider the power factor when calculating the total connected load. To further clarify the difference between the total connected load and the panel board rating, let's consider another example. Suppose you have a small office building with a panel board rated at 200 amps at 208 volts, 3-phase. The office building has several loads, including lighting, computers, and air conditioning. To determine the total connected load, you would need to add up the power requirements of all these loads. Let's say that the total connected load is calculated to be 180 amps. In this case, the total connected load is less than the panel board rating, so the panel board is adequately sized for the office building's electrical needs. However, if the total connected load were to exceed 200 amps, the panel board would be overloaded, and the main breaker would likely trip. In this situation, you would need to either reduce the total connected load or upgrade the panel board to a higher rating. It's also important to consider the demand factor when sizing a panel board. The demand factor is a ratio of the maximum demand of a load to its total connected load. The demand factor takes into account the fact that not all loads will be operating at their full capacity simultaneously. For example, a lighting system may have a total connected load of 100 amps, but its maximum demand may only be 80 amps because some of the lights may be turned off at certain times. When sizing a panel board, you should use the maximum demand of each load, rather than its total connected load. This will help you avoid oversizing the panel board and wasting money. In this specific scenario we are discussing, involving the 6 2.5 kilowatt heaters, the assumption is that all 6 heaters are intended to operate simultaneously. Therefore, the demand factor is 1. The total connected load is the sum of the individual heater loads, which needs to be multiplied by the square root of 3 to account for the 3-phase power distribution. Another important consideration when installing electrical equipment is compliance with the National Electrical Code, often referred to as the NEC. The NEC provides guidelines and requirements for safe electrical installations. It covers various aspects of electrical systems, including wiring methods, overcurrent protection, grounding, and equipment installation. It's essential to consult the NEC and follow its requirements when designing and installing electrical systems to ensure safety and prevent hazards. In the context of our heater installation, the NEC would specify requirements for the type and size of conductors used to supply power to the heaters, the overcurrent protection devices needed to protect the circuits, and the grounding methods to ensure safety. For example, the NEC specifies the allowable ampacity of different types of conductors based on their size and insulation type. You would need to select conductors with an ampacity sufficient to carry the current required by the heaters, taking into account any dirting factors that may apply. Dirting factors are adjustments to the allowable ampacity of conductors that are required under certain conditions, such as high ambient temperatures or when multiple conductors are bundled together. The NEC also provides tables and guidelines for selecting the appropriate size of overcurrent protection devices, such as circuit breakers or fuses. The overcurrent protection devices must be sized to protect the conductors from overloads and short circuits. The size of the overcurrent protection device should not exceed the ampacity of the conductors it is protecting. Furthermore, the NEC specifies requirements for grounding electrical systems. Grounding is the process of connecting electrical equipment to the earth to provide a low impedance path for fault currents. Grounding helps to prevent electrical shock hazards and protects equipment from damage. The NEC specifies different grounding methods depending on the type of electrical system and the equipment being grounded. In our heater installation, the NEC would require the panel board and the heaters to be properly grounded to ensure safety. In addition to the NEC, local electrical codes may also apply. Local electrical codes are regulations adopted by local jurisdictions such as cities or counties that may supplement or amend the NEC. It's important to check with the local authorities to determine if any local electrical codes apply to your project. Now, let's consider the voltage drop in the circuit. Voltage drop is the decrease in voltage that occurs along a conductor due to its resistance. Excessive voltage drop can cause equipment to malfunction or operate inefficiently. The NEC recommends limiting the voltage drop in branch circuits and feeders to no more than 3% for power, heating, and lighting loads. To calculate the voltage drop in a circuit, you need to know the length of the conductor, the current flowing through the conductor, and the resistance of the conductor. The resistance of a conductor depends on its material, size, and temperature. There are various online calculators and tables available that can help you calculate voltage drop. If the voltage drop in a circuit exceeds the recommended limit, you may need to increase the size of the conductor to reduce its resistance. In our heater installation, it's important to calculate the voltage drop to ensure that the heaters receive adequate voltage to operate properly. Finally, let's address the issue of harmonics. Harmonics are distortions of the sinusoidal waveform of alternating current. Harmonics can be caused by nonlinear loads, such as electronic devices, fluorescent lighting, and variable frequency drives. Harmonics can cause various problems in electrical systems, including overheating of transformers and conductors, malfunctioning of equipment, and interference with communication systems. To mitigate the effects of harmonics, you can use harmonic filters. Harmonic filters are devices that are designed to reduce the amplitude of harmonics in the electrical system. In some cases, it may be necessary to install a dedicated harmonic filter to address harmonic problems. In our heater installation, the heaters themselves are unlikely to generate significant harmonics. However, if there are other nonlinear loads connected to the same panel board, harmonics may be a concern. In conclusion, when calculating the total connected load of an electrical system, it's essential to consider all the factors involved, including the type of loads, the voltage, the phase configuration, the power factor, the demand factor, and any applicable codes and standards. By carefully considering these factors, you can ensure that the electrical system is properly sized and installed for safe and efficient operation. Remember that in three-phase systems, multiplying by the square root of 3 is crucial for accurate power calculations. Also, always prioritize safety and consult with qualified electricians or electrical engineers when designing and installing electrical systems. The NEC is a valuable resource for ensuring safe electrical installations, and local electrical codes should also be followed.